welcome to the Only Successful Events Show. I'm your host, April Iannazone, and in this episode, we are going to discuss how the coronavirus could have devastating effects on the event industry and how many event producers and companies are already being affected. Now, in this episode, I have the pleasure to speak with Andrea Michaels from Extraordinary Events. I had Andrea booked on the show a few weeks prior. We planned on a totally different topic. However, just a few hours before our interview, we learned that she had a 3,000-person event cancel. Not only did it have 3,000 attendees booked, but it was in 5 different venues with over 700 vendors. Now, this was a huge cancellation due to the coronavirus. So she's going to share how she's kind of recouping, what you could do to protect yourself in the future, and we are also going to talk about if you're having an event, what you need to be aware of to make sure that you, your staff, your attendees, and everybody is protected. So if you're ready, let's jump right in.
What we do are live experiential events, which is kind of a word right now that's being used by everybody to explain what the industry is. And interestingly enough, if a live event isn't an experience, what is it actually? But what we try to do are customized, very creative events that are thoughtful and strategic. So we don't just act as a fulfillment agency where someone calls up and says, I want some pieces and lights, and by the way, put some lighting bulbs on the stage. But rather, we try to integrate ourselves into what client messaging is, what the purpose of the event is. And I think it's something that we help the industry develop along these, as you pointed out, many years in the industry.
I only can point that out because I've been in the industry a little over 20 years. So that is the only reason why I could point that out. So guys, when I'm going to put a link to Andrea's website in the show notes. So I want you to check out some of the past events. The pictures are spectacular. Her clientele really ranges. So definitely go check them out. Andrea, how has your business kind of shifted throughout the years and when you first started to where you are now?
When I first started, you want to go way back into the 70s before many people watching or listening were born. None of the things you see today even existed. So imagine a business meeting right now for a company like Google, and you see 360-degree wraparound LEDs, all kinds of fabulous content, lasers, lighting, custom music, and beautiful content. When I started, it was overhead slides. An empty stage with no lighting, and maybe a microphone with a speaker. If you talked about what a evening event or hospitality event consisted of, mind you, this was before the days of parties, it would have been a linen which was provided by a hotel, which is about a half an inch off the edge of the table, a bud vase, and maybe a piano player on the stage. So imagine what you're seeing today and just note the difference. And it was something that grew slowly. It didn't just evolve overnight. And the speed of technology is really quick right now. So what is developing just moves very quickly. But it didn't at that time. So how has it evolved? It's completely different. You would never recognize it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Years ago, I had a catering and event production company. During my divorce, we closed it and sold off all our clients and all of that fun stuff. But that was before there really was internet. There was an internet, but it was just a little bit. And I used to say to myself a few years later, I'm like, wow, if there was internet, I would have really killed it. Like, we were doing well at the catering company, but there was internet back then and I could advertise and get my message out the way that I do now. It would have been crazy. So, yeah.
I'm going to play devil's advocate on that one for just a second. As an event planner, I'm not a caterer. I'm not a decorator. I'm not a lighting company. But anything can be found on the internet. So your clients, though they would have gone to your catering, suddenly want to piecemeal everything themselves and order it directly. They just don't know what to do with it when they actually get it. They don't know how to negotiate contracts for events. They don't know how to negotiate entertainment. They don't know what to do to provide the rider requirements of the entertainer. So it's fabulous in some ways. And as an overall picture, there are also things about it that don't work.
Definitely makes sense. And I can see that point, definitely. So how were you able to really sustain over the past 30 years and through all of the different transitions? Because I know a lot of people that just kind of gave up because they didn't want to learn what's new and what's up to date and really stay cutting edge.
Well, you can ask my staff because I still can't do a lot of things on the computer, and I can never do an Excel spreadsheet, and I probably should. So let no one take this advice. First of all, I'm cheap. I'm cautious. I don't spend money unless I know that I have plenty of money to spend. So there's always that rainy day part that I pay a lot of attention to. And it's not like I order new stationery and recreate the website. Because just like this coronavirus that you mentioned, when days like that hit, we still have to do payroll.
Yeah.
And so sustainability in the industry has been a compilation of two things. Three, actually. One, I don't stress it easily. And I think that people who do cannot sustain this industry because it's a very up and down moment to industry. And the second thing is I surround myself with really people with a lot of talent in various ways, so that whether we're dealing with the 22-year-old who is definitely not connecting with me, we're still showing, something fresh and new while maintaining all the procedures. And I think procedures is really an important word, along with documentation, so that you are always aware of business.
Yes.
So even though it's a creative industry, it's also about the business of doing business. Yeah. So I've always paid attention to that too.
Yeah, that's perfect advice because it's all, you still have a business. You need that solid foundation, that solid structure, and those processes and procedures in place to really scale and have any team member pick up where you need them to pick up. What was that? I think it was Henry Ford, and I'm so sorry if I'm quoting the wrong person and the wrong quote, but I think it was Henry Ford that said, I don't know everything, but I have a box on my desk with a bunch of buttons, and each button is connected to somebody that knows what I need to know. So it's kind of make sure, and I totally butchered that, but it's in the realm of you don't need to know everything as long as you have somebody that knows that specific thing. Your gold. Again, totally butchered it, but definitely a great quote. I have to find the right one and put it in the show notes.
No, it is really interesting because my dad always used to say, knowledge is knowing what you don't know. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Someone who does know that. So I think that if it was Henry Ford, wise man.
Yeah. The advice that you would give to people just starting out, because with our Only Successful Events course, we have a lot of people that think they want to be event planners, that it sounds fun, it sounds interesting, and they're starting a brand new business. So we're helping them with those foundations, those systems, those procedures, and really navigating the back end. But what piece of advice would you give them, being an industry veteran, to people just starting out?
Wow. First of all, don't assume because you planned your sorority's summer picnic that you understand the business of event planning. Also, don't assume that it's just loads and loads of fun, because it can be and it isn't. So when everybody else gets to leave the party at midnight, you're there till 4 or 5 a.m. striking. It's long, hard work. None of that is advice, of course. When you're starting out in business, get the best lawyer in accountant that you can, and make sure that everything you do is legal and solvent. Surround yourself with people who know a lot more than you do, and make sure you make use of their talents and ask questions. The one thing about this industry that I think is unique is people openly share. Network like crazy, ask a lot of questions, and then listen to the answers. It's not a business about how much you know. It's about how much everybody else knows. Attend conferences that are totally outside of our industry, as well as all the conferences that are great learning possibilities for people within the industry. And as I said, very understand that it is a business. It's not just I plan a party, I did my sister-in-law's wedding. It's far more than that. It is about documentation, it is about procedures, as you mentioned. So it's part creativity and part not, but it's hard work. And people need to understand that when they enter into it.
Without a doubt.
We get so many resumes and people who say, when people say, what do you do? You can probably edit out my stumbling around that one. But when they say, what do you do? And I say, that sounds like so much fun. Do that to my feet.
Yeah. And I don't know if you agree with me, but I always say it does take a special person to be in the event industry in general, and also the restaurant, the hospitality, because I really do feel like that hustle that needs to already be inside you. You can teach someone how to work fast and things like that, but that hustle, that drive, that fast, quick motion, I really feel like it needs to kind of be ingrained in you.
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting when you say hospitality, because if people don't have that natural instinct of being hospitable and warm and flexible, this isn't the right industry for them. You have to genuinely believe in what you're doing.
So let's shift a little bit, because I know you were messaging back with Heather a few minutes ago, right before the podcast, and we were talking about you had a cancellation. Can you tell us a little bit about how that call went with your client?
Let me start with heartbreak. I think that those of us who are very invested in what we do and create something unique and wonderful, we live to see it come to life. And when it doesn't, it is heartbreaking. So it's not just business, it's also an emotional investment and a creative investment. We had a team of about 7 or 8 people driving down to San Diego from Los Angeles that were in the last minute reconfirmations and pre-production for a multi-million-dollar event, which was going to take place over 5 or 6 days, morning, noon, and night. Every event, every activation was very strategic, very customized, never been done before. And then we got a call from the client that said, we've decided because of the coronavirus and our 3,000 people are international, coming in from all over the world, that it is a risk factor, and therefore we are defining it as force majeure, which is my learning experience out of this, which I'll talk about in a second.
Yes.
And therefore the entire program was canceled. We were about 15 minutes or so outside of San Diego at the time we got this message. And
so they said
control.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you. So they said canceled. They didn't say postponed. We're going to pick another day. They told you canceled.
Canceled because they have their projects are scheduled years in advance, and this is an annual conference, so they know where they're going for the next 5 years, and therefore they're not coming back to San Diego. It is not a postponement; it's a total cancellation.
Wow! And so you mentioned then it's straight into damage control. What does damage control look like for you for this particular event? Because this is probably one of the larger ones that you were planning, right?
We had about, I'll call them whether you call them vendors, suppliers, or partners, it doesn't matter. They're canceling. And there were about 700 of them. So we talked about trucks on their way from exhibit builders in Las Vegas to actually an entertainer that we were flying in from South Africa. So it was like, don't get on the plane. To people who were creating custom pieces of art that were half done. And it's like, stop painting. So from beginning to end, it was trying to reach everybody as quickly as possible. The part that was difficult is in part of this, some people had already arrived in San Diego as far as the guests, the participants. So do we do something for them? Do we do nothing for them? Were any of these monies going to be repurposed? At some point, the client was deciding if we were going to use an unusual venue, because one of the unusual parts of this program is we were doing 5 simultaneous events in 5 different venues all over the city.
Wow.
And each was for 500 to 600 people. So could we repurpose the monies that had been spent in deposits and do something for the community? And donate food that was already pre-ordered. There were so many things to take into consideration, along with each person we contacted was feeling some of the devastation we were because they had invested so much in this realm.
Oh, yeah. So I want you to go back to the term you said they were canceling it under, because I think I have a feeling what it is, but I'm not sure. And I know that's not in my contract, so I might need to figure that out.
I put it in there, and I will tell you that is what I love. That everything you do should have this clause in it. And you need to know that it's open to interpretation. A force majeure is act of God, a force beyond your control.
Yeah.
So natural disaster, hurricane, tornado, as we found out, even volcano eruptions a few years ago. But here's where the sticky part is a flu-like virus an act of God? Is it a risk factor when no risk existed in San Diego, but it did in countries that people were coming from?
Yeah.
So it's legal entanglement at the moment.
Yeah.
Every contract we signed has a different definition and a different wording for force majeure. So all these people that were contacted and signed contracts with have their own, and none of them mention health issues.
Yeah, we have it in most of our contracts. It's act of God. And a lot of our events are in South Florida. We're all over internationally, but the good majority of them are in Florida. So we always put in there for hurricanes, and then everything is refundable. We have it with our venues, with our attendee tickets. But I honestly, until our call, I would not even think to include anything about a virus or, I mean, truthfully, I don't think that is an act of God, but I guess it really depends on who's interpreting it and what it's going to shake out inside the courts or inside with the lawyers.
It is now going to be written into almost every force majeure clause, at least as far as what I can see going on the internet and what is coming up as far as the news, but it hasn't been to date. So again, it's open to interpretation. So here's the sticky part of it. From the client's point of view, it is force majeure. Therefore, we have no event. And if there is no event, you can't hire anyone to work on an event that doesn't exist. So therefore, in some ways, it is on our end as well. It's being interpreted in many ways, and many companies are having to deal with this right now. So it's also a matter of how cooperative are your vendors and suppliers going to be, because obviously food that hasn't been ordered, that hasn't been delivered, that hasn't been prepared should be refundable. If airline tickets are refundable, that needs to be passed on to the client. So I think it's going to be really sticky for a while. And then the World Health Organization issued, not that it was a crisis, but that the travel permits were being rescinded and all that. So it's a matter of, okay, the virus is bad and risk that. Do you want to bring in people who could potentially spread this? Not a good idea.
No. I mean, yes, for the client, it makes perfect sense. And I'm sure it's devastating to the client as well. But at the same point, are you, as your company now, do you have to give back any money, or did all of the deposits that they gave to your company non-refundable? Or is it kind of non-refundable unless of an act of God?
I guess we're going to see.
Yeah.
Right now, we're trying to mitigate each and every vendor to say, what can you do to help out the situation? Yeah. And we will refund those monies. So we have deposit money, and I think the deposit money is going to be used wisely to cover actual expenses that can be documented. And here's where the running business becomes critical. Everything is documented, every expense. So if the expense is valid, it will be legitimate. But we can't pay, for instance, for time that people don't work. On the other hand, people who've passed up work, is that a legitimate expense or not? So if we hired an entertainer which passed on doing 3 or 4 other jobs during that week they were going to be there, do they have a legitimate claim or don't they? And that's going to be very up in the air in a while. And I'm caught between a rock and a hard place, because I definitely agree with the client that they should not have to pay for services not used. On the other hand, I've been a vendor so much of my life, as you would know from catering, and it's lost opportunity. And the profit on jobs like this is what would keep me in business. So if there's no profit as a company, what do I do? All of that is in flux due to the fact that this was very last minute. We're still working it out.
And
put that force majeure clause in your contracts, people.
And, I think too, as an event producer, this is where a lot of your relationships come into play too. So this is why you never want to burn any bridges. You always want to treat your vendors, your clients, your customers with the way that you want to be treated, because now when you need them to help you out or try to brainstorm a solution to all of these different situations, really, it's more about bringing that community together, all of your resources, and trying to come up with what's going to be the best solution for everybody involved. So definitely don't underestimate the power of building relationships, even if you've never met them before in the past. The entertainer that you were flying from South Africa, who knows when you're going to need them at another event, and how you can possibly bring this back around if they're treated the right way in this situation. So
absolutely, you're absolutely correct. And that is part of the things that I think all the newbies really need to learn, is those relationships that keep you in business. So when you say, how do you sustain? It's by understanding that that's what matters. Just the same way relationships do in personal life. Business isn't any different.
Yeah. Nobody knows at the moment what's going to go on with the coronavirus. How do you think it's going to instantly impact the industry? Do you think that there's a lot of events going on that are being canceled left and right?
There are. All you have to do is take a look at what is going on in the event industry right now, what's going on the internet, and Facebook is canceled, Zendesk is canceled, Google canceled. It is absolutely almost every international conference in Europe and in the US is canceled. The economic impact is horrendous. When you take a look at hotels, that may have canceled like 2,000 rooms or more, or what's going on in Las Vegas when the major conferences are being canceled, the economic impact is unbelievable.
Yeah. And I think it's very interesting too that you mentioned that your client didn't reschedule this. They just canceled it because in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's canceled for the moment, but they're going to redo it in 2021 or everything can stay in place. They're just going to push it out another year. But I guess we don't know the outcome with the coronavirus. And in many cases, like you mentioned, this event was a couple years in the making. So it's kind of hard to really predict that. But do you think that some of them will be postponed or do you think that people are just not planning?
Absolutely, many of them will be postponed.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean that everything is still available. So if you take a look at a venue, I mean, yes, can you get food? Of course you can get food. Can you get florals? Yes, you can get florals. And there'll always be a limit available. But is that one headliner going to be available when you postpone?
Very true.
And they want to be paid in full. Their terms of contract with force majeure, you don't mess with it.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't know. The venue might not be available. The hotel rooms might not be available at the time you decide you want to reschedule.
Yeah.
So it is lost opportunity you have to take into consideration.
Absolutely. Now, for us, for one of my companies, Med Spa Growth and Profitability, I mentioned that we have workshops that are planned a couple times a month throughout the United States. We don't have any coming up this year in other countries, but throughout the United States. And we actually canceled the next 6 months of the ones like sporadic in the US. We do have our annual conference that's still booked. We're moving forward with that. So I'm wondering on your opinion on when you are having an event, what can you do to safeguard your attendees? So if you're moving forward with your event, and I'll share, what we plan on doing, but I want to hear any ideas that you have on your side.
I think information is the key to it. And I've noticed that I'm probably flooded with emails right now, which are listing all the health things you can do, which range from cute little messaging about wash your hands.
Mm-hmm.
One of our good partners in China is very cute. She sent out a picture of herself with a face mask on and said, "It's really wonderful what I'm saving on makeup."
I love that.
So it's also taking a positive attitude of saying this is a real risk. Here are the things you need to watch out for. Maybe you don't hug and kiss as much as you would if you meet someone that you've known for a long time. Maybe you're wary of shaking hands. Maybe as a gift you make sure that you give out hand sanitizer to all of your participants. And that you very closely look at what your interactions are that you're providing as part of this meeting or workshop. So it is about, here are the real risks. Here is our stance on it. We understand if you're not willing to take this risk, that it's fully refundable to you, which is actually what our client did to all the participants. They said, before it was canceled, if you choose not to attend, it's fully refundable.
No, that's perfect.
So I think it is all about giving out very honest information.
I love that you said letting them know your stance on it. So what we are planning on doing as well is we always send out, here's what to expect and how to make the most out of your experience. But we are adding an extra piece there. Here's what we suggest. Here's how we feel. Here's why we decided to move forward with the event. And here's how you can help us protect you and the other attendees. We're absolutely doing the hand sanitizer. So normally I am never into promo sanitizers, like to put your name, your logo on a sanitizing bottle, because I'm like, they'll use it 6 times, it'll end up in the garbage. Like that's not one that's going to kind of be around. But we are doing them in the bags this year. We are doing hand sanitizing stations throughout. And we're going to put up little signs all over as well. But I love the idea of putting on a little mask and kind of doing a funny little thing in the bathrooms and maybe throughout with just kind of lighting the air. We have our MC at the beginning of the event come on stage and say, I know this is sometimes you only see each other every few months, but you might not be feeling sick. Somebody else might be not feeling sick, but you never know. So let's just do those elbow bumps that you do in the kitchen and say hello. And without a doubt, there's no buffets going on. So not that we do many buffets in general, but there's no buffets going on to protect our guests.
Well, as you were talking, I was thinking about something that when I got to San Diego, the first thing I did was I went out and got Lysol, or Pine Sol, let's not give it a brand name, but like the TV remote in the room, the phones, those are all breeding grounds.
So I travel with Lysol in my suitcase for that reason, even at the nicest hotels.
I have a little one, but I ran out of it very quickly, and I decided I better get a big can because I wanted to be sure that anybody on my team didn't have it. So that was in the meeting rooms, that was wherever we were getting together, that was wiping down a conference table we all sat at. So I think maybe that's just a thoughtful thing for the participant who doesn't think about it.
Well, and I love that.
It's pretty inexpensive thing to do.
Definitely. And, we always have for our speakers or for our vendors, we always have a little basket in their room. That might be I didn't think about actually, because people think I'm weird that I travel with Lysol. So I never thought about giving it to other people. But in light of the circumstances, that might be a great addition to their wine basket with another hand sanitizer. So that's a great idea. Obviously, now this just happened to you. You have to go do some cleanup. How long do you think it's going to take you to kind of be done with this event?
Are you talking about collecting money or paying out?
Well, what I mean is when it's not a headache anymore.
It will, to me, it's always going to be, I won't call it a headache, I'll call it a headache.
Oh.
That it'll be for a long time because you reference looking at her website. So where do those pictures come from of all these fantastic events? They come from events that happened, not events that didn't happen. And even in terms of entertainers, or lighting designers, or decorators, or exhibit builders, none of them will have anything to show for this. So it's not only the cancellation and the money, it's about custom costumes and just beautiful technical innovations.
Yeah.
There won't be anything. They're not happening. So even when you talk about postponing is one issue, but all the things that people can post on social media so that they can resell their services, that's an opportunity which is lost as well. So right now, we're in the process of catching up with about 700 vendors to find out what we can work out. That's going to take negotiating. Some of them are holding fast. Others are being extremely generous. And so we have to work through that. Once we work through that, then it's presenting everything to the client and figuring out on both ends what can be done. So in terms of the business of it, I think it's probably going to be until about a month before everything gets settled. And then collecting monies is another issue, and paying out monies is another issue. And some of these are very small businesses. So I really hate to collect money, but until I have the clients to do it, I don't have a choice.
Yeah. No, very true. I'll let this settle down a little bit, but I really do want to jump on again and talk about where you think the event industry is going in general, what opportunities are out there, all the stuff that we were going to talk about. But I think with light of what just happened to you guys, this is a big topic that I'm glad that we covered today.
Thank you. And anytime, I promise to do my hair and put on makeup again.
I'm sure you didn't mean to. Andrea, can you tell everybody where they can learn more about you and extraordinary events?
First of all, I published a book, which is a lot of fun. It's called Reflections of the Successful Wallflower, and it'll talk a lot about starting a business, being in business, and how to manage your personal life, because the challenges in personal life and business are much the same. So it's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. So that's my plug.
I'll put the link to that too in the show notes for everybody.
Thank you. Extraordinaryevents.com or .net. You can find us on the website. We also have a good newsletter that we publish every single week. You can sign up for that. It's all about good news, so no promotions, but it's a lot of fun. And you can call me on my cell phone anytime anybody ever wants to. This is my give back to the event industry. It gave me a wonderfully fertile life. And anytime someone wants to be mentored or has a question, I'll free to put it out there. It's 818-512-1603. So I'm always available if someone wants to call. The office number is 818-783-6112. And as a company, we're available to answer questions, help you out if you've got a challenge, or if you want to talk about these dreadful virus repercussions of it. We're happy to share our experiences.
That's very generous.
LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, you name it.
Very generous. Well, thank you so much. This has been fun, and good luck in the next couple months.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.